And we're back here on the Daly Joe podcast. Welcome to March Pie Day 3.14.
I got a pie from work every year.
Oh, really?
It's a triple layer chocolate cake, though.
That is not a pie. No.
But it still qualifies as the celebration of 3.1416, etc.
It's round?
Yeah.
Excellent. We can calculate that.
All right.
Thanks to
I'm Joe
that
Pliss.
famous thing.
And these days I'm a town councilor at Planning and Zoning. And you are?
Steve Daly, a local real estate agent here in Wyndham, operating in and around a 45-minute radius from
My
our sweet
mother-in-law
town.
is realtor, no less.
That's right. Hired right now, finding Lorraine a beautiful
Closing
home.
in on a beauty.
Yeah, we have a few property line adjustments to make on it,
Yeah,
but
well, that's why that is the value of having somebody represent you when you're trying to buy something. You get these tricky situations, and what would I wouldn't know to even look for the situation. You did. You're helping us navigate that through. So, it's like going into court without a lawyer. You don't want to go into with these real estate deals without some representation. So that's my plug for you, brother.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I love the work that I do, and certainly, it's hard. All the information is out there online, but because it's almost like an overload, it really helps to have one person that's local, that knows the area, and can kind of take you from A to B without all these sidetracks along the way.
I had a professor in college. This is going back just before the internet, really. But even back then, she was saying we're data rich, but information poor. Like somebody's got to take all that data that's out there and available, and distill it and make sense of it. And that's like that curation that you do is that's valuable.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I take that to heart, and that's what we try to do, and of course representing our clients' best interests.
That might be the last good thing I say.
Trust.
As I ridicule your half-baked thoughts
about the town,
about everything, but all the things that we have opinions about, which we don't have all the facts.
No facts about what we talk about on this couch, unless it's real estate. Then we'll throw some facts in.
We try,
yeah,
and we try to get to the bottom of things that we don't fully understand.
Mm-hmm.
But as you will see, there's plenty that we're missing, and we want you to let us know when that happens.
That's right.
But try not to be too mean about it.
Right. Friendly feedback, we could call it.
Friendly feedback
About things we fucked up on.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, the 3 F's.
Sorry,
friendly feedback on fuck ups. No.
Hey, so let's do our first segment. Willimantic today.
Absolutely. So, in this show, like you said, we're a couple of idiots just trying to take in all the data or all the things that we see out there in the world or online about our town and give you some thoughts on it that we had. I wonder what you guys think about it all. So Willimantic today, pretty big incident coming up with the Willimantic Police Department.
7 vehicles.
Boom! Crash! Smash!
Kind of murky, but there were. If you read all the threads, if you're nosy like I am, which I did.
You saw the video?
25 different stories about, what happened.
Yeah.
It seems pretty clear that there was at least one Willimantic police officer involved, and maybe not the most honorable behavior in the aftermath or even leading up to it.
Right. Probably both.
Lots of people shocked to see their vehicles smashed up.
Unbelievable.
That's a real black eye for the town, and certainly some hardship for whoever was responsible for that activity.
Hardships on all sides with that situation, and it was interesting to read some of the discussion around that and seeing of course it's a terrible thing that happened, and having a lot more responsibility, and I do agree with having our officers held to a higher expectation.
How do you think though, the response to that, was
Fast and Furious?
Was it a fair response in total?
I think it's fair that people can voice their opinion on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So in that sense, yes. Were we all young and make mistakes? Yes. I think when you enter public service, you do have to really look at that, and that's a life choice. And I think there is a higher level of responsibility that we hold.
Yeah, that's
our,
that. So yeah, people were really
servants, Joe.
pounding and. Oh yeah, like any individual, it's like it seems so unfair to like pile up, especially before. But on the other hand, you know, like they talk about the court of public opinion. Well, it's not a court.
No, it's not a court.
It's opinion.
It's a mob.
Where everybody throws in their 2 cents,
square.
and
Yeah.
you kind of see like what the cultural sentiment is, and I think the cultural sentiment is pretty clear. Like that was a really bad thing. All right, let's flip to something a little easier to take. On Monday is the opening of the second Egg and Cheese.
Oh, another one!
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
The first one's out in Franklin. It's closer to where I live.
Right.
And
Don't mind that. That's not a terrible drive, but I love walking on downtown Main Street, especially early in the morning.
right.
And I can't wait to get a little egg and cheese down there.
I mean, the owner of that, Hannah Dupuy, I think was her last name. She's done a great job with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, really a hustler, fine attention to details. You know, this is somebody who's very passionate about what she's doing. So,
Coming into that spot, let's talk about the location that she's going into. I think it's an awesome location. I used to love going there for Jamaica Me Crazy.
oh, that's what it's Jamaican
Yeah.
crazy. It is
Canberra
fun.
Bakery.
That lower spot, which we're all
There was that
waiting
crepe
for,
place there for a minute, right?
yeah, which had a terrible name.
What was the name of it?
It was like I can't remember, something like wine and crepes, and just made me.
Why don't you whine about it?
I won't.
That's bad dad joke.
Hannah's coming with her second shop on Monday. I hope everybody's out there getting their egg sandwiches, and she's got plenty more on there.
Oh yeah, she's got a great menu.
Good quality food.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that'll be a good fit for that spot. So
I think so too. I think she's got a lot of the kind of like a crowd already for me to get excited about it, to have that staying power on Main Street. So that is awesome. I really loved going down to Trigo to kind of, and now something in between. I think one side of Main Street and the other will be awesome.
and we're getting there.
And you got a cupcake for later that already kind of fills that need. Not only juice leaving certainly was tough for me. I really like that. Nothing wrong with Paul and Jane's boba. I do enjoy that once in a while, but I can't. I don't go there for lunch as much as I
Look,
used to.
when you compliment one place, it isn't a slight on the rest of the places.
I have to mention every business on Main Street now. I think that comes from I grew up in a big family, and I feel like that's what my mom
They
would
said
do.
one nice thing about one brother.
Like, good
and
job,
you got to go
Billy.
down the list.
Yeah, here's all 8 of you. Yeah.
God bless you.
You're wonderful. Yeah.
All right, so that's Willimantic today.
That's it.
We've been bouncing back and forth on the topic. Where do you want to go with? What's your gut tell you?
Home affordability. It's a problem. Whether you're a renter or a buyer, or a transient, whatever you might be, it's hard out there. If you have a home and you bought it before 2020, that's pretty great. You're probably in a good situation. Taxes are about to go up, so that's another. That's something.
Gonna put me on the
Also
spot.
to
huh?
talk
Thank
about
you.
Joe. You did put it very eloquently about with the reassessment that did need to happen, and how that kind of trickles into the new mill rate, and how that's going to be different for residential properties and commercial properties.
Did I do that on the episode where our video failed?
That got cut.
Oh,
The audio and video failed.
So maybe I got to try a retake here.
You know what? Let's focus on that. Yeah, because
Okay, so
that was really
I've
important.
been trying this like 20 different ways to explain this. It's really complicated. Everybody gets confused about the effect of property reassessment versus the cost of running the government.
Yeah.
So I'll just talk about town government, which has last year had a budget around 19 million or so. Okay, and the town manager's proposed budget is 21.5 million. So that's more. Yeah, it's like
That's more.
It wasn't a $2 million increase. It was maybe 1.5. So that is a tax increase just to run the town. Yeah, maybe they can't hear the vacuum, but you know, it's about time somebody vacuumed.
It's about time, right?
So don't begrudge.
The chickens have been coming up. They've been cleaning up some.
So you might see, I don't know, it starts out at like 6 or 7% tax increase just for that 20 million. Then there's the education budget, which is like 2.5 times the size. That'll come out at 3 or 4%. So your cost of school and running the town might see 3 or 4% increase. But where homeowners are going to see more of a bump is in the fact that their houses, if they have a 1 and 2 bedroom or a mobile home, their assessment went up. You guys stop? It's that bad? So now I have to talk about myself. So maybe when all is said and done, when you get your tax bill, if you have a residential property, most of that increase is going to come from the fact that your house is now worth more in the market. And because it's worth more, residential properties are going to pay a bigger share of the total tax burden. So it's a combination of two. And I think that's going to be hard for people to parse out. And when it comes budget season, you could cut to the bone, but it's still not going to change the increase related to the fact that more people want to buy your house or your 2 or 3 unit place.
Like the market value still is.
You can go back, at least 11 years, which is what's online in Connecticut, and there has not been this kind of property reval for residential properties in that time period. So this is sort of unprecedented. We've seen it happen in other parts of the country after COVID. Mm-hmm. Last few years, it's finally catching up here. So our properties are worth more in the market, and that means the property owners are going to pay a bigger share of the total tax burden. And that'll end up being most of the tax increase this year.
Right. And just, I don't know if you already said this, so I'm sorry, I went upstairs, but a big part of that discussion was, when we initially, the reassessment was happening and people weren't necessarily happy with the new assessment, right, the feedback from town hall seemed to be, oh, well, the mill rate will adjust as well, so your taxes aren't going to increase significantly.
Yeah, okay, so
now that was a little misleading.
I think it is. I think it is misleading to, in theory, well, not in theory, it's math. That if you have a $19 million bill,
it's a math that you have to factor other things into.
And then you change all the assessments, it's still a $19 million bill. It's just your portion is going to increase if you have a property that more people want to buy. Okay, so we have a shift of that tax responsibility. On average, it stayed the same. But the more accurate thing to say is, oh no, commercial properties went up 18%, residential went up 2 to 3 to 4 times that.
Right.
And so the tax burden is going to shift from commercial to residential. That means 2 things. One is people really want to buy these properties, okay? And we'll get back to the housing crunch that exacerbates. And the other thing is, businesses are going to see some of that money coming back. And that should be good for more businesses.
Right.
And that's good for us. So it's a very short-term spike and shift. It'll be, it could be very painful for a lot of people. And I think, particularly for people who own houses in 2 and 3 unit and mobile homes.
Yeah.
This is going to be a difficult.
Right. And just for people that, to really, I think, sum that up in a really concise way would be to say, what you said there, the average increase really isn't that much over all properties, right? As far as the tax, right? Yeah. However, because residential values went up so much higher than commercial values, the burden is going to be put on residential much more than commercial. And so, yes, on average across town, not a huge increase. However, on an individual, single family level, and even multifamily level, the taxes are going up.
Yeah, and that's even if the town budget stayed at 19 million.
Right. Right.
Okay?
It's 21.
You can vote it down, but that reassessment's still going to show up
Right.
in your bill.
Right.
We can't. There's no. I don't see how we get around that.
Right. The reassessment is done regardless of the budget.
Yeah.
So the taxes are going up. Not passing the budget won't change that.
Right. So now you have this demand for our single family homes, especially for 2 and 3 unit apartments.
Mm-hmm.
That also translates to the rental market.
Right.
So you can see it in Willimantic today, like the panic. Desperately need 2, 3, 4 bedroom apartments.
Yeah.
And the stories I'm hearing over and over is, you can get, a 2 unit apartment and it's going to be $1,800 and, it's getting snapped up like that.
Oh yeah. 2 bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So rents are really high, and they're a lot higher than they have been, and it's a product of supply and demand. There's just a lot of demand, people moving to the area.
And then what happens when
not enough
so
houses
let's say I have a 2 or 3 unit place, and I say these taxes are too much. I'm gonna go move to Florida or whatever. You sell your place, you make 50 to 100%. You make a big chunk of money.
Good margin.
Somebody else buys the property, and what are they gonna do? Are they gonna put money into it and fix it up?
It depends if they have to or not.
Well, a lot of times they will, and they're gonna say, okay, in order for this investment to make sense, I need to bump up my rentals 50%, 75%.
Yeah, where you're going with that.
And so we're seeing at the point of sale, it's very threatening to renters because the new owners needs to make some money out of this. That's why they're going into it.
Right. But the old owner already had their prices, their expenses. They were more or less fixed at that time until taxes are going up.
But this could be really hard.
Yeah, a new buyer is an investor is dealing with, unless they bought it cash, the new higher interest rates as well, higher taxes, and things maybe need a lot of maintenance or updates in the property, and they need it, right? Properties need to be maintained, so they put that investment in, and the only way for that to make sense for them is to charge a higher rent, and because of the demand, the market says they're able to. On the other hand, that does price a lot of people out or put people in a really hard financial situation.
Yeah, let's not pussyfoot what that means. I mean, when you're facing eviction and you don't even know if you can find a place in town.
Right.
It's really scary. You
Right.
know, and there is a correlation to homelessness under these circumstances. So I don't know exactly what the solution is. There's a Fair Rent Commission proposed through the town council. There's actually March 19th. There's a public hearing on it. So we're getting very close to coming up with final
March 19th. Fair Rent Commission.
Yeah, I mean, as the language stands now, I would vote it down because I think there's a couple problems in it. I'm very much in favor.
Where can people go to attend that?
That would be Town Hall, Bellingham, 7 p.m. or maybe it's 6:30. You can check the town.
Check the
website.
town website, but 6:30 possibly on March 19th.
On March 19th, and
it's a good day.
Voice your concern and support, or if you're a landlord, you have concerns that it's affecting your property rights. You should voice your concerns. I think there's a balance that needs to happen.
Yeah,
it's fair rent isn't synonymous with rent control. It's really just trying to take in all the factors here and making sure that we're not creating undue hardship for people, and people are still able to invest in properties.
right. Absolutely. And I love that you said fair rent, because that can mean so many different things. And that's the whole point of having a committee and a discussion around it.
Right.
It's not saying control, it's not saying this, but it's just acknowledging there's a lot of factors that come into a happy, healthy society.
Well, there's at least
there's
at least 13 by state statute if you adopt a fair rent commission, and that one of those is a means test. Mm-hmm. So that does factor in. So that would be something different. Like if somebody's on a fixed income and you buy a new property and you want to boot that person, it's going to be you're going to have to be a little kinder about that transition.
Right. There's some legal precedent with that. Wow. Yeah, we could keep going with this. Just talking about all this made me think of a lot of things. One was like, the corporate influence that can come into fair rent commission or control, right? And one of the smaller investors that I work with, was talking about, when you have rent control, which is different than fair rent commission. I really want to be clear about that because I didn't understand that when we first started having the discussion.
Very common.
But when you have fair or rent control and it's, you can only increase rent by X amount every single year, well, that kind of puts it on an investor to make sure they do that.
Yeah, max every year.
Because or else, let's say they don't do it 1 year or the next year or the next year, but then inflation hits or taxes go up and they can't increase rents to make it affordable for them to maintain and own that property. And really serve the tenants. At the end of the day, like we still need rentals. Right. I don't want to do away with all rentals. That puts them in a position where they have to sell, and who's the only one with margins or survivable margins where you can survive on a lower margin to afford those kinds of changes, and that's a large corporation. And when you start bringing in large corporations to buy up properties, the care to the tenant, we find statistically goes way down, and also the corporate influence in the political world sure is strong, and that can change and reduce protections that tenants have in the long run as well. So things that we really want to keep in mind: do we want our town owned by ourselves and other small investors that have that local connection and care about the community, or do we want to have so much government control that the only people that can afford to buy are corporations who are now controlling the government?
I think we see
and that causes some issues that we need to consider.
We see that so many times where we start off with regulation designed to protect the little guy.
Yes.
And it ends up being regulatory capture by big corporate interests. And now the little guy can't even get into the game.
Right.
And I think that's a really smart cautionary tale that you're bringing up there.
Well, I'm starting to see it in real estate with the real estate commission lawsuits that are going on right now, which that's a whole other topic for another time. But yeah, I'm a big believer in small business and locally owned properties, businesses, communities, associations, and really the velocity of the dollar. The more that we can keep our money in the town and not, I know Amazon's convenient, right? But it's just an example. I'm not I still buy some things on Amazon, but the more that you can shop local, the more that money stays in our circulation. And I mean, literally think about it. Why don't we have money in town? Every time you buy something from anyone not in town, that money leaves this place. And the only way to get it back is by having another business that's set up here or through the state. And I don't think you want to be reliant on that.
Yeah, I mean, and those would be big dollars if we're talking about real estate.
Yeah.
Going to corporate interests.
Oh, yeah.
That would be an alarming trend. We already see that with mobile home parks.
Oh, God, yeah.
So
look at Stonegate Manor.
Stonegate is a corporate interest, so...
That's $685 a month right now to rent a plot of land out there and put your mobile home on it?
I'm not sure what the details are. You probably know.
Yeah. I think that one is. I might be double check that.
Those manufactured homes, those are very desirable. They're nice neighborhoods. They're well maintained. They're safe.
Sure.
Still, despite the increase that corporation is levying on the land, it still ends up being one of the cheaper alternatives for housing.
If you can get a loan for it. Or have the cash, because you can't get a standard mortgage with it. So it's not actually as easy or accessible to people as you think, because you see the price tag and you think, oh, I can just go buy that, but not necessarily true.
Hey, we're going to have to wrap this up.
Yeah. This is getting long.
What do you want to do?
A shot.
Shot.
Have a great day, everybody. Happy Pi Day. Maybe go 3.14, calculated circle. Our first live